Hi, folks, and welcome back to the Star Wars Library, where Star Wars is in print. And today we're going back to the Marvel series to talk about one issue today, Marvel Star Wars 55, which is this issue here, 55. Now, remember, we are still in our new trade of Marvel Star Wars, Volume 4 of a long time ago, Screams in the Void. And so basically what this issue is, it's written by David Michelinie. We're still in 1981. And the rebels are looking for a new base. This planet called Arbra is a potential target or a potential location that they could go to. But there's this wildlife there called the Hoojibs. And they feed on energy. And so this there's a lot of it at this location. But because this Slivolith, S-L-Y-V-O-L-Y-T-H, Slivolith, came to the world to feed on the energy, the Hoojibs are now like, well, we gotta do something. We gotta feed on something. So they start feeding on the rebels' technology. So, for example, blasters don't work. A lot of communications and stuff like that. It's not working because these Hoojibs are feeding on this technology. And so they figure out a way to eventually communicate with the rebels. And basically the rebels are like, okay, well, we'll help you take out this Slivolith. And then the Hoojibs, are like, okay, do that, and then they can stay on the world. So the Hoojibs are, essentially asking them to please take this thing out. So the story is, it feels very, very quick. It was a quick read. With some of these stories in here, I kind of reread them just to kind of refresh myself with the story, because they're not terribly long, so they're quick reads. It's one of those things where it's very quick. You don't feel like it takes you a long time to read, but it is kind of cool because it is setting up a lot of things. The Hoojibs become a major ally, particularly in the Marvel stuff, and in fact, Arbra, the planet that they're on, is like their main base, again, in the lore in the Marvel series. So it is, it is very, very cool to see that. Is it an essential read for Marvel readers? Yes, I definitely think it is an essential read for Marvel readers, because you do see things that are going to come up in many other stories later on in the Marvel Comics run. For modern readers, it's debatable, but I think it is, and I do think it's worth checking out, because there is something that I do want to present that this story will connect to later. So, this came out in 1981. Later on, in 1999, 2000, we had what was called the New Jedi Order. This is the first book in the series, called Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore. We'll get to this book when I'm 50. Or I don't know when we'll get to it, but eventually we'll get to it. Anyways, the reason I bring up this book is that this was the first book of that series, and it introduced the new threat that the New Republic / Jedi Order would be facing, and that is the Yuuzhan Vong. So, the Slivolith that we see in here, in these issues, or in this issue, is later revealed to be a Yuuzhan Vong probe. It's a living technology. That's kind of the big thing with the Vong, and again, we'll get into this when we get to it, is that the Vong use living pieces of technology. So that's what the Slivolith is basically doing. It's checking out the galaxy. So chronologically speaking, the first time we've seen, something or a Vong or something of that species in the Star Wars universe, chronologically would be Rogue Planet. But in terms of publication order, which is what we're doing on the show, this is the first time that we see anything involving the Vong in our timeline here, or in our chronology here. And I think that's very cool. Now, granted, this was retconned and it was connected later, but it is still very, very cool that, something from the 80s, they found a way to connect to the brand new novels of the new millennium. So that was really interesting to me, and a really cool Easter egg, and another great connection in the expanded universe. So I recommend it. Check it out, especially for modern readers. If you're a New Jedi Order fan, I think you'll definitely find something of value in this. It's not a bad story. It's just sort of okay, and it might be well worth your time, but that's just me. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time with another episode of the Star Wars Library.